Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and KCSB.org. Today, Lietoc and I are joined by Peoria, Illinois-based wunderkind Ian, cordially known as Jetski. He's part plunderphonic musician, shitposter, and avid metafan culture enthusiast. Way back in November of 2022, he released Reflex Engine, his first proper album of outstanding era material on Blorpus Editions. Ian, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Thanks, guys. I'm super glad to be here. It's going great.
Yeah, dude, we're stoked to have you on. We were just chatting earlier that you were doing some grocery shopping. You got some Klondike bars. As your alternative, you're usually a mochi enjoyer. What's your favorite mochi flavor?
Oh, I like the cookies and cream one usually.
That one slaps,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but I like all kinds of I don't know all kinds of flavors. I like maybe not mochi, but I was gonna say I'm a big fan of like pistachio ice cream.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
That's a really
pistachio is so good.
yeah.
So I guess what else have you been up to? Like, what do you do like outside of music? Do you have any like hobbies or like routines? Like, what do you do for work?
Yeah. I mean, I worked in tech support. I just work a regular, 9 to 5 schedule, but it's this little company here in Peoria called FDC Solutions,
Sick.
and it's kind of yeah, it's like you get contracted by Caterpillar to do tech support for them.
Oh, like the tractor
Um,
company?
yeah, that one
Dang.
exactly. And which is there's a lot of connections because like Peoria used to be Caterpillar's headquarters
Oh,
actually.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so Peoria has like a long history of like um, I don't know, construction, like industry actually.
Yeah.
But and then now we still have a lot of Caterpillar stuff here. They moved the headquarters, like with the executives and shit, up to um, Deerfield, Illinois, I think, near
Mm.
Chicago
Hmm.
somewhere. Can I swear, by the way? Does that matter?
We should probably keep it on the DL just
Like,
so it's easier to edit out, I guess.
Okay, no, good to know. It won't be. I'm not gonna swear a lot. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
no stress. No
It's not
stress,
gonna be
dude.
don't
hard. I
worry,
wasn't
don't worry.
planning on it. But yeah. Anyway, so I work for this tech support company, and it's nice that ever since the pandemic, I work remote now.
Hmm.
I used to go into an office, but yeah, it's nice for some flexibility. It makes it a lot
Yeah.
easier to shit post on the clock.
Yeah.
Oh, oh wow.
Just no one, no boss watching over your shoulder
Oh
or
yeah, for
anything.
sure.
Um, yeah, but it's good gig, and other than that, I hang out with my family a lot. My sister lives in town here. Actually, my sisters, to be accurate, I have 3 sisters, and they actually all live in town here. It's
Oh,
kind of
sick.
crazy, and it's sort of a long story, but we none of us grew up in Peoria,
Yeah, that's actually
actually.
what I was gonna ask. Are you guys like from there or
Oh,
like?
okay.
Yeah, we grew up in my sister Angie and I, that's the one who's closest to me,
Mhm.
we're 2 years apart. We grew up in Bloomington, Illinois, which is like it's like 40 miles from here or something. It's real
Mhm.
close.
Yeah.
So um and that's where my parents are still at. Um and so Angie moved to Peoria because her boyfriend lived here, and like they just wanted to settle down here. And then yeah, she kind of met a pretty good community of friends, and like pretty I guess liberal minded
Mhm.
people that are cool.
Yeah.
Illinois is usually not that bad, like politically speaking.
Mhm.
um so it's usually not bad anyway. But um yeah, and then Angie convinced me to move
Yeah.
here like 5 or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Um,
Nice.
and then shortly after that, I got this job here, so it just really worked out well. And then our other 2 sisters, they're actually like our half sisters because my mom is from her first marriage,
Mhm.
and then she remarried, and then. But anyway, but the cool thing is like I'm still really close with my older half sisters too, and they're like in their 40s, so they're I'm 31, and so there's definitely a gap,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, totally.
But they're cool, and I'm close with them, and like we saw them a lot when we were growing up, and my sister Carla showed us like the Big Lebowski, and
Yeah.
actually I remember Carla also gave me a CD of Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys.
Oh,
That's-
sick, dude.
I don't have my
Which-
immediate copy right next to me, but yes, that's like feet away from me right now.
Hell yeah, no, I knew y'all would be, fans, and that was definitely a mind-opening moment back, when I was like 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah.
And so I didn't grow up here, but we all kind of moved here. We all relocated here, and I like the community here. And besides, just like the friends and stuff, there is a a small but respectable noise and noise adjacent
Oh, really? Yeah.
music scene. Yeah, it's Lietoc knows about the Heaven
It was
World.
Heaven World. I was gonna say, yeah, Heaven World was one that had stumbled in over to Tabs Ad, and they had a really nice little tape. But I struggled to find their presence. Then when you let me know, like they're in my area, I was like, oh, sick. There's more happening in Illinois.
Wait,
Yeah,
so talk a little bit
yeah.
more about like Heaven World, I guess, for anybody that doesn't know like what it is that's listening.
Oh yeah, so that's this music project by two of my buddies here in Peoria, and it's really sweet. It's like ambient drone mixed with some like noise elements, sound collage. Um, it's definitely very like atmospheric and evocative, and it's a cool music project that I really like. What I really like about what they do is they're very kind of multimedia oriented, and they'll put together like they make their own tapes, and Nate, one of the guys from the band, he does graphic design. He does really great designs, so he designs tape covers, and like they've done little zines and booklets and stuff too. And yeah, they've got their kind of slogan is "Born to Heaven, Forced to World."
Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
And so they'll print out merch and stickers and shit with that, and yeah, they're really like, I feel like a fixture of this kind of scene here, and they also host a lot of shows. The first show that I played in Peoria, and actually, yes, I was playing as Jetski. I think it was technically the first Jetski show I ever played. Wow. In like 2019, was at Nate's house, and I was just opening for Heaven World.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so those guys are great. They're just really, supportive, and like really, bring people together, and host a lot of cool shows. So yeah, no, I definitely, I'm indebted to them. I feel like they really, kind of helped me get into the scene here.
That's sick.
Yeah, so I recommend checking them out. If anyone who's listening hasn't checked them, look up Heaven World on Bandcamp. Great stuff.
Tight. Maddie, I think your mic went out, by the way.
Let's see. Okay, it's staying around for right now.
Now you're
good.
There we go.
I just had pulled up a quick map to get a sense of that distance between Chicago. How often do you find yourself kind of going into the city as well for collaboration or to see a show? Is that like a reliable thing even?
Yeah, actually, I go up to Chicago pretty often. I've got some friends up there, and yeah, I've been going there for shows forever.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first ones I went to was Pitchfork in 2011.
So sick.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I was literally 18, and my buddy from high school, he had like a fake ID, so we were able to get beers and stuff. And um, yeah, and we just went for one day, but that was when Animal Collective was playing.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. More.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so I go up to Chicago a lot, and then more recently, I have gone up there to I haven't played as Jetski up there yet, but I have DJed a handful of times up there.
Cool.
Sick.
Wow.
Yeah, usually as DJ Victor Borga,
Hell yeah.
my alias for like hyperpop nightcore,
Dude, that's sick. Yeah.
kind of shit. Yeah, and so there's some people who organize shows. And then I remember there was one show I played at, what's the place called? Dad's Digital Art something something. I forget what it stands for.
Mhm.
It's like the acronym Dad's. Really cool venue up there where it's like very like DIY space, just like open, like a loft, and then they have all these like projectors and like gaming setups and like interactive shit that you can kind of mess with at the show, and like couches and stuff. And yeah, really cool venue. I played a DJ set there, and Max from House Mo, he was like running sound.
Oh, really? That's tight.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I got to hang out with him then, and
Cool. Was that the first time you met him?
I think that was maybe. Oh, you know what? No, I met him in person. Like I saw him for like 2 seconds at another Pitchfork in like probably like 2021. I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, but that was the first time we connected because we had just been mutuals on Twitter before that. And then we connected IRL. And then, yeah, eventually he started doing the Blorpus thing. And he just DM'd me. He was like, yeah, man, if you ever want to drop something. Actually, let me clarify. He didn't say that. He was like, you need to drop something on Blorpus. He was like very encouraging because I was posting like a lot of like clips of like sample mangling and crap on Twitter, and which I'm also definitely indebted to him. He's really supportive, was really stoked to put out some of my stuff. So
it was, I remember because it seems so funny. Blorpus had just appeared. He literally was like real time tweeting about, hey, I think I'm gonna do this label. It's called Blorpus. We're just gonna do a label, and I'm just gonna put out my friends. And literally, like within 3 days, he's like, hey guys, here's Blorpus 1. Don't worry, it's just a net label right now. And then the CD showed up, and I got really excited because once he did the bundle, I was like, I need the Jetski CD finally, and I got the Norman W. Long, and it's again just like another brief little offshoot of this great energy. And he's some of the other stuff on it. He's looking at I don't know if any of his guitar students, but he knows some teens that are making really sharp music right now.
Oh, really?
That's what I love about it. That I don't know, it kind of speaks to something that you had talked about with your siblings there, where he's in that position of like early 30s and he knows these people in their early 20s or late teens, and generationally they're linking up and kind of passing on, and it's beautiful.
yeah, no, I love how just it started out of nowhere, because it's like there's so much amazing stuff being made, and I love those connections between across generations, across different countries, and just how everything that's been on there has been a total trip. Every release I've heard, that Norman W. Long is really, really sick. So yeah, no, I'm glad that y'all are stoked on it too. It's been awesome to see the kind of stuff that he puts out.
I'm glad though that he had also pushed you to do that, because again, the relationship at the time, and this I guess is something maybe to get in, it's like DIY wise, you've come at a really interesting angle that started to emerge there at the end of Tiny Mixtapes, but really after its implosion of a lot of weird music people on twitter.com that were ready to make edits or ready to kind of get into being down for some of this stuff. or going big on like Animal Collective or Autechre, but also making music that was very indebted to mashup culture and other stuff going on around it. So what had pushed you? Because I know at least some of your early stuff, if I'm getting it right, 2016, some of the first Jetski date stuff, but what was pushing you at least in that kind of late 2010s window to create?
Yeah, I mean, no, I love that you kind of picked up on that thread there. And I'm glad that comes across because it's been a little bit of a journey to get here,
Mhm.
how that's how I feel, at least about my relationship with music, and also figuring out what kind of paradigm I wanted to work within my music,
Mhm.
because when I first started making music, it was pretty much like I was listening to a ton of Animal Collective. I was deep in the trenches, listening to every release I could find, um, and even that, I was like, I was a little bit late because, again, I mentioned I saw Animal Collective in Pitchfork 2011.
Mhm.
Amazing show. They streamed that set. That was the kind of early Centipede Hertz
Yeah,
material.
Mhm.
they debut.
Um,
They don't. I don't know if they debut one of the cuts there, but I've seen one of the 7 or 10 minute clips that has one of the cuts, and it's like, oh, they're really going for it. It was a very exciting time to have them at Pitchfork there.
yeah, that was, and I almost feel like really, that was like, this is definitely a transitional period for them as a band
Mhm.
because of coming off of that crazy hype at the
Mhm.
end of 2010s, which is like totally also just like very unsustainable. So it's like, they kind of they slowed down a lot after that, just touring wise, tempo wise, pretty much every
Mhm.
way,
I never realized
they
that. Wow.
yeah, I mean, like, and this is because I'm like, I love to obsess over the different eras of the band, like a Deadhead might with
Yeah.
the Grateful Dead. But it was like I got into them, and I even at that show, I wasn't really a fan of them yet.
Oh,
Mhm.
Like I
really?
was aware of them, and that
Mhm.
buddy who brought me to go see them, he was like a major, huge fan. He showed them to me in high school, and I didn't connect with it.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, like it was too weird, like these forest children
Mhm.
screaming, I was like,
Yeah.
like I wasn't, I was too cool for it, or like it was too earnest. I don't know. Um, and I was also really into like prog and jam bands like
Mhm.
Fish and crap at that
Oh,
time. That was a whole other phase. Yeah, I know.
again, it's too fun though. Where it's like, well, with what you get right now with the Animal Collective, we'll talk. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
Yeah. No, there's plenty to talk about there. But yeah, so like, I got into them kind of late, and I was getting into it, and then really I was like, all this, because they do amazing stuff with
Mhm.
samples.
Mhm.
Um, to this day, when I think of like sample collages, I'm like, Animal Collective is like, they are the the benchmark to me.
Mhm.
Um, just with how they evoke imagery and all these, I don't know, just the way that they put together samples. So I got so obsessed with that stuff. Person pitch was also huge.
Yeah.
The first couple of years of me making music, I feel like I was just trying to rip off person pitch, um, which is not a bad approach.
Mhm.
Like you could do worse. It's just layering samples, just trying to make. There's a lot more. I feel like I was more in the ambient zone, and I wasn't thinking about it too hard. I was just kind of, this is just, I had the SP404,
Yeah.
just like everyone else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, which was, it's great. And then, a couple of years later, I think it was, I'm glad you mentioned kind of about like mashups and this pop sensibility.
Mhm.
I definitely, it felt like I was getting into it late. I was already 25, 26 or whatever, but
Yeah.
I was getting into a lot more pop music. That's when I got into Charlie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yes, I've got right over here. I didn't return it. My library rental.
Nice.
I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
Shout out to the library.
Dude, the library CDs they still so useful. Such an amazing resource.
That has become my one purpose now in life. It's to rep them. I'm on the library CD grind. We're trying to get stuff into libraries now. I know how the purchase request goes. I'm all on board. We got 2 libraries to get the new Raphael Toral. That's the one I'm hyped on.
I saw you post about that, which is you're doing God's work. That is a freaky album.
That's a freaky album, and I'm hoping a couple people can find it where it meets them, or it can get a display or something, because it's just there now. And I'm the only person that's stumping. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Oh yeah, it's gonna make waves, I'm sure. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, to sort of, I feel like where it kind of tied together into like where I'm at now with my music is just getting into Charlie, like pop music, and there's also, I can't believe I'm putting this on record, but there was a big Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti phase in there.
I mean, we all went through that phase. You know what I mean?
Thomas got the vinyl. Actually,
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, this is probably a safe space.
I almost rented the 2010 album, and because it plays such a big part of the animal, not a big part of the Animal Collective lore, but the first
part
album
of it, yeah.
And
for sure.
Like, here's my CD, and then they're like, and we just found the CD on the floor in our van and played it, and it was this. I played that like little clip on the radio from one of the interviews because it goes straight into for Wait for Kate. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, exactly. Like that was that's I feel like with everyone I know who's kind of into weirdo freak music, like had that phase. That was like a rite of passage. Like
I mean, he was sick before his like political views like kind of killed it for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I used to love how he'd be a baby on stage, just like throw fits. Like that stuff was like hilarious. It cracked me up. You know what I mean? Like he just like there was like one show where he was just like pouting, and I'm kind of just like, what is going on, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I just he's a total freak, and political views, abuse allegations aside.
Yeah.
Not aside, but with that said, that music was honestly very formative, and even just broadly, I feel like this whole, there was like a solid like 3 months. I swear I only listened to Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti, all those early lo-fi ones, and I feel like it formed this idea in my mind how all those albums are just pop music, especially like talking like almost in the 20th century tradition of from and everything before like 1988 or something, like everything is firmly in that tradition, and I kind of respect just how much he stays in this kind of tradition, but it's like it's pop songs with hooks and the same pop structures, but it's also just it's noise music, like those early tapes, some of them are just unlistenable, like House Arrest just sounds like terrible, so there was something about this idea of like combining the infectiousness of pop music and then something more dissonant and disturbing and just confrontational, but also still really compelling and contagious in the way pop music is. So after that phase, I remember I dropped kind of an album, but I hesitate to call it an album, but it was like this is like 28 minutes long. This Bandcamp release that I just self-released. The whole album is just samples of Smooth by Santana.
Yeah.
And I don't really post about it as much anymore. I still like it, but I'm not as proud of it. I mean, it's a shit post, right? So and then from there it kind of became just okay. I'm going to try and lean hard into samples and
Mhm.
pop music, and then eventually I found my way to kind of what the sound is on, say, Reflex Engine. So yeah, no, I'm just really stoked that you kind of picked up on that specifically that pop music element, because it's definitely a major consideration.
Part of it is that also it's like, yeah, for me as a listener as well, I've gone on that same kind of trajectory where now I do listen to a significant amount of pop that is also less age aversive. So it's like I've got like shout out Nuggets. We gotta give a big shout out to these comps from Rhino
Hell
that
yeah.
get
Nice.
pop just like spoon fed right there, but like also an interesting kind of old standards now or really pre-elect. Honestly, that would be the one thing. It's like post electro kind of 80s or later 80s new
Mhm.
wave. 70s pop still is like a massive blind spot there. But then a lot of modern stuff. In particular, like I'm really fascinated by whatever was going on production wise around 2012 to let's say 2016.
Okay.
Specifically, like it's like the 2013 Danny Brand album that has some songs that should not be on there at all, but I'm
Mhm.
very glad that are there that have a very giant big pop noise on them. I don't know if like that's coming through if you know what I mean.
No, no, no. I feel like I know what you mean,
I'm trying to think
and
of other great examples album wise that do that. Like Rihanna's Auntie's kind of tiptoeing in that vein. It has some stuff that's all pre hyper pop though, or doesn't it's not on that wavelength.
right, right. I mean, like, yeah, it's just that was such like a moment where it just feels like the possibilities are endless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I always think of stuff like Jam City Classical Curves around
Jam
then.
but no, like the first Kalela is another, I think, kind of again in that, and that's an album that is also listening now. It's like, oh, this is K-pop. Oh, this is the sound of K-pop now, and it's really great to hear that. Or like, it's fun. You don't once you get into listening like that, it's a blast to connect that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like it's very much that was a huge kind of thing I had to come around on. Is just like pop music.
Mhm.
This idea. Um, there's so much kind of. I feel like there's a lot of baggage with pop music because it's like, oh, it's so heavily commercialized. It's like
Mhm.
so, just like created to be a commodity, a product.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But despite that, or perhaps sometimes because of it, it can reach these transcendent heights
Yeah.
that the same way that I feel when I listen to, Laraji, like, meditative ambient music, or like, the most extreme noise, like you can reach those same kind of heights through just like songwriting craft
Mhm.
and really detailed or really like punchy production that just hits exactly the right way, like the way that a build, an EDM build will
Mhm.
kind of reach this peak. And it has a, I don't know, there's something very psychedelic about it. There's something really
Yeah.
compelling about it that if you're someone like us who loves, again, like weirdo freak music, as that's what usually my shorthand is. It's like there's so much to be mined out of pop music too. It took me way too long to realize that, and once I did, it was like, holy shit, that just changes everything. So
Mhm. Big shout outs though to pop music. Thomas, are you gonna have a big pop phase now?
I
Are
need
you
to
ready?
I need to get my pop phase in. Jess is in her pop phase, so
Got ready early.
I just got to join with her. You know what I mean?
it'll happen, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
One thing at least also based off that though is because for you when it comes though to the pop music as well, you've used Twitter to kind of like go full speed on some stuff, including you were at like a Charlie XCS listening party, I think during the pandemic, and you're just there. Or it's no, it was for Crash, I think. It was right after your little boxes there. Or you did like
Yeah,
Eugene's remix that I think got featured by them, if I'm correct. Or
it
was
was. Yeah, that was, well. It was also a Charlie song, which is funny. It was my mashup of My Boo by Ghost Town DJs, and with the vocals from Unlock It by Charlie.
Oh,
Um,
there you go.
actually, I've always been almost annoyed about that mashup because literally I was like, okay, I need to find the instrumental for Ghost Town DJs, My Boo. And I'm like 90% sure it's like a sound alike, like karaoke track.
Yeah.
It's not the original instrumental,
Yeah.
but like, and that song is so universal. I feel like, just as far as like classic, like electro, beats and like that style of like hip hop or pop. But yeah, so I made that mashup, and but I like how the songs work together, so it's like whatever if it's not the original. And then a couple years after I made it, this was like last year, New Jeans danced to that on their TikTok, which is like insane because they are like so hype right now.
Yeah.
I missed it too. I didn't see it for months, and then I was like, holy shit! So yeah, it was wild.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Had there been any other kind of bump-ins on Twitter that you had? Also, like in the world of film or any other stuff, at least?
Yeah, I mean that's no, that's definitely like a big also I feel like stepping stone along the way was like, I connected with a lot of people on Twitter just by chance because there's all these people talking about music on there and such a great community when you find those people who are just digging for cool shit and like they that's how I found most music nowadays, like guys like y'all and other just big time fans who are just doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah.
And so that's how I connected eventually with like Max from Housemo and a lot of other people and with a lot of Charlie stands. The first big kind of thing that connected with people was I made this edit of Boom Clap by Charlie, and is Boom Clap, but every word is "It's Charlie, baby."
That's
which
sick.
is that's one of those meme formats. Like they've done so many of those.
Yeah.
Where it's just the whole song is just one word or whatever. But that blew up. That got like I don't know 5,000 likes or something. And
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was just because Charlie's got her army of stands.
Yeah.
That and they're all very online. I'm sure they're all like 16. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Actually, she had her fan base varies, but and a strong LGBTQ representation in her fan community, and yeah, I connected with so many of those people, and shortly after that was when I made the first big like mashup I had, which was the Unlock It with Better Off Alone by Alice DJ. And so that also just like connected me with a lot of Charlie fans, and it was really big on SoundCloud. I think it got like 300,000 plays or something.
Wow.
Which was wild. That was on DJ Victor Borga, which I really started that account. I was just like, I just don't want to put mashups on Jetski. I'm going to make a page for mashups, right? And then of course that page got way bigger than Jetski, which is like, yeah, because DJ Victor Borga has like 5,000 followers and Jetski has like 800 or something. Yeah, I don't know, and it's like SoundCloud is like, I guess also SoundCloud is probably more tailored to like club music and stuff.
Oh yeah, so for sure.
Makes more sense that it's bigger, but yeah, so those things just I don't know, it's so serendipitous because like I love making mashups. I think it's great. Like back in high school, I loved Girl Talk and all this shit. That was big. My same friend who showed me Animal Collector showed me Girl Talk.
You
That's
know,
sick.
following anything on hipster runoff for those last years, like 2011 to 2013?
You know, I I was like, I was pretty checked out from that, honestly. I was like, I remember reading about like Animal Collective at some point on there and just
Yeah.
being like, what is this dude on? Like, just like,
Yeah.
so like, like, I don't know, like the tone of the writing is just hilarious. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't fully grasp, what the bit was at the time. Now it's like, I get it. But I kind of was checked out for that. But that stuff is just, I mean, that's just the ultimate time capsule of that era.
I still will use web archive. I've got a bookmark to go to a post, and then from there, when I need to trawl 5 years for very specific pieces, or like, hey, it's like, what did he say on Steve Aoki this month? Because there's some heinous stuff on there, but then there are like incredible pictures or time capsules or accidentally brilliant insights into the machine. Like, just randomly he would nail it. But especially as it goes on, it just gets worse. But the like 2010 era is really good. There's some very fun posts.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, like, just, I kind of, a lot of that stuff was just kind of, I mean, I think about, like with Animal Collective in that era. I mean, just talk about like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine like a band like Animal Collective like making the same waves now. Um, and that's a part of that is to do with the fact that we don't have like blogs like Hipster Runoff and Pitchfork
Interesting.
is GQ Condé Nast now. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the music journalism is one foot in the grave. Like
You would, yeah, because I still try to think it's like what, and now the brilliant is that Carl's piece on or not on Animal Collective. He has a really brilliant insight though about how this band progressed at the same decade as these digital platforms were, and it was just all kind of like a perfect encapsulation. The leak culture even being as strong as it was. I mean, stuff leaks. It's also,
Oh,
if
leak
you
culture.
are just writing amateur, it can be very easy to get or hear a promo on an album you want, even if it doesn't leak. But like the new Vampire Weekend, I think leaked a week or so early before, and there was hype for that as a result.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And like, yeah, the leaks I think definitely helped Animal Collective. Like there was the whole notorious like Brother Sport leak
That one's wild.
by Ed Droste leaked it or so I don't know, something like that.
Also, yeah, there's Bradford Cox writing a blog post about how we need to stop like leaking and like all come together.
Bradford Cox wrote an article about that.
Yeah, Bradford Cox of Gear Hunter, who had also had, because he had like massively messed up his own album release and had like leaked he had leaked logos and Weird Era by complete accident because he left a link open.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's one of the most notorious I remember now. Like someone found like he posted a link and they could like get into the upper directories of the link by accident or whatever. And which is I mean, of course, I'm not, not to be flippant about like musicians wanting to present their art in the proper context. Like, of course, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But that's totally one of those aspects of those emerging, tech changes like blogs and just MP3 distribution and everything about it that's like changed so much and just made it like this whole new subculture of like underground music being distributed in the most illegitimate way. Like yeah, that stuff is just I mean it has it's just such a particular time capsule of that era. So
Even no, like one thing at least I do see now, but I see it kind of almost as a smaller thing for dedicated niches that are not trying to break. And that's again one of the things like about Strawberry Jam to me that's so important is that album really bridges the gap between an avant and a clear pop sensibility. and even a cut like again, the band really have these callbacks to these ideas. Peacebone, it was not until I listened to some Wall of Voodoo I was reminded of how like dangerously close they were to doing the intro Mexican radio, which is just also asinine noise. To me is like a strange, but it feels like even they don't know that they're stumbling into that. It's that kind of but um what
Yeah.
I was going on was I'm thinking of like ARGs, a band like Glass Beach doing an ARG, or like Two Shell telling their fans, if you buy this rock, maybe there will be a USB in it if you break it.
Yeah.
These very, very kind of small things, or even like with, I don't know if Charlie has hidden anything on our website. There are any games. I'm thinking about the some of the stuff on Nobels right now, the cloud music, the people who you have to buy a file the week it comes out, or it becomes a $1,000 file.
Yeah. That's true. There's still some innovation there. Some just something. Yeah, I love when people can find some novelty in even just these things that seem like gimmicks, but also like just yeah. I mean, that's totally part of the experience and the whole. The release is like also these weird additional layers to it. I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The willingness to me is just so critical right now. That desire to be like, our product's great. We have something. We're gonna go hype on this, and trying to create that in the 21st century. It has to be done in these ways. And then I think there is really a cap to it. But it's like, again, I think we talked a bit about this with Z, with putting out the vaporwave tapes, Luxury Elite. Like that does sell though. That audience is like really happy then and content, and they're down to budget for that. So when those niches become kind of made apparent, it's really interesting to see the artists that figured out.
Yeah, that actually make it like interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, no, that stuff is like, and that's true. Vaporwave is another whole just sphere of music that I am not like super deep into. I mean, I love Telepath, and old like slush wave type stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like that's not too far of a leap from say like Haunted Graffiti.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like again, you had vaporwave, you had like tiny mixtapes, and then out of that comes this almost like post vapor adjacent stuff, like scenes like Orange Milk and House Mo, and I've been lucky that I got into a lot of those scenes. I was really inspired by like House Mo and Orange Milk, or like Numinal Loom, also amazing tape label.
What's the label?
Loom?
Yeah, yeah. However you say it, yeah.
However, again, shout out to them because they bowed out last year really quietly. I didn't write or say anything, but they had at least one tape that I'm kicking myself for never getting in that last year. That was still like a top notch Orange Milk kind of hyper pop style right out of 2018 or 19. Just like damn.
Yeah.
There was still some great stuff up until the end on that label.
Yeah, no, I have to shout them out because I'm like, I haven't forgotten about them. They had an amazing run. And this whole, kind of scene, which is such a, just, it's so distributed among many different geographical areas and, subcultures and scenes. But it's been crazy to me that I've almost stumbled into like connecting with a lot of these people, like with Max. Another show that I should probably mention was kind of crazy in 2019. This was towards the end of the year. I remember it was like November 2019 because this was like just months before COVID and everything went insane. But I drove down to Columbus from Illinois because I have a friend out there, Danielle, who I know from the Animal Collective message board.
Oh, crazy!
Animals.
Yeah,
really.
Did y'all ever go on there? I don't know.
been on there a few times around 2018 or 19 for some archival stuff, just to kind of read old posts. There was one post I wish I bookmarked interview-wise or something, but yes. Again,
Yeah.
I go in other message boards and I've got communities that I linked up with as a result of that. So I got to give a shout out to it.
Exactly. And like you said, I mean, it's an amazing resource, just like the archives of interviews, live bootlegs, everything on there.
Yeah.
Is amazing. But yeah, anyway, I went down to Columbus, played a show with my friend Danielle, who makes music as versioning.
Oh, sick.
Really cool. Yeah, like synthy noise stuff. And she's friends with Keith Rankin.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then so she organized this show, which was actually, it was like a fundraiser for like gender reaffirmation surgery for Danielle's surgery.
Cool.
And so yeah, and so I played at that show, and Keith came to the show, which
sick.
is really cool. She was trying to get him to play, and then I think he wasn't able to, but yeah, he came out to support, which was great. You know, he was at some art gallery down there, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, I got to chat with Keith afterwards, and he was really cool, and just, you know, it was great to meet him, because, you know, at that point I was like totally inspired by a lot of the stuff Orange Milk put out, a lot of the Giant Claw material. And he kind of mentioned to me, he was like, are you like connected with any like vaporwave stuff or anything? And I was like, you know, not really. Like, I use like samples, you know, and so I kind of, you know, I just tangentially have these connections, and so yeah, it was crazy to meet him. And then since then, you know, Keith and I have chatted, and he's really cool, you know. And then like the Orange Milk Discord, which isn't super active, but yeah, it's great. And just yeah, so it's again one of those things where it's like the connections from vaporwave to these kinds of, almost like the vaporwave diaspora, you know. Like, I love that stuff.
So at least gear wise, if anything's kind of been tiptoed around here, you've been really just making stuff on digital access workstations, or just using your laptop or computer. Do you use any other gear outside of that?
There is significant piece of gear that I can hold in the palm of my hand, thanks to Steve Jobs. And I've got it right here, my koala sampler. I don't even know what samples these are.
Oh my goodness.
What is it? What's the...
Cool. See, this app, Koala Sampler.
Oh, sick, yeah.
Wow.
It's on iOS. It's also on Android. And I'm always like, I swear they should be paying me, because I've told everyone about it. I totally, so I was using Ableton before. I was like, you know, you know, I was using the SP404, like I said. That was kind of, you know, I jocked up the Normal Collective, and then from there, you know, somehow I pirated a copy of Ableton, because, you know, everyone was like, well, Ableton, if you use samples, Ableton can do crazy stuff, you know, time stretching, slicing, what have you. And it is a super powerful tool, but, you know, I think my problem with Ableton that I realized after using it for like 3 solid years was like, or even more than that, probably 4 or 5 years, but I kept hitting my head against the wall, because everything in Ableton is very locked to a time grid, you know.
What you said, time grid?
And yeah, like a beat grid, because you know, this is made by on Ableton. It's like, well, because of like just you know, like, it's like, because it's made by these like German techno dudes, you know.
Yeah.
These like Berlin dudes who are like, you know, making loops, and just, they're all about sequencing, like, you know, 4-bar sequence, 5-bar sequence, you know, everything is like very blocky and structured, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's definitely, especially for like beat driven music, it can be a really great tool. Like
Mhm.
Ableton sequencer is crazy. You can do amazing stuff with that. And I've used that for making music, but I just, again, going back to Animal Collective, I mean, like, you look at how those guys make music, and this is what I realized is that I was copying them for years and years. I still am.
Yeah.
And they had their little samples, and they were tapping everything out live. Like they are, in my mind, they're very electronic, but they're like a rock band. You know, they're up on stage, they're shredding, they're playing their stuff. Like it's not loops. Like there's definitely loops, there's definitely patterns too,
Mhm.
but I think what makes them so unique is that they have this very hands-on approach to their samples and their song structures. So eventually, what I came around to was like I was like making custom samplers in Ableton, like like Max MSP,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, I learned Max MSP inspired by Autechre,
That's sick.
trying to make my own kind of samplers, and
Yeah.
like and it was terrible, man. All my patches were so buggy. Like it's I said I worked in tech support, but I am not a developer. Like I'm not good at coding, so so eventually, this is like 3 years ago, I found Koala Sampler. I don't know where. It's probably someone just posted a clip or something. And I think it was like very novel and unusual because first of all, it's like a mobile app, um, and I did come from this like almost stigma that it's like if it's a mobile app, it just seems like a game,
Yeah.
Okay.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's kind of fun and it's a cute, fun, like you can mess around with some beats, but it's like you're not going to make a full song of that. You're not going to make a professional song. But
Yeah.
I was I was sorely mistaken, and you can find tons of examples of that, of like musicians using iPads. Like I want to say like Madlib does a lot of stuff on an iPad now.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have to look that up, but like Pinata, like a lot of those beats for iPad
Oh,
is
wild.
like
Yeah.
really impressive. I mean, he's one of those dudes that it's like, you know, the gear doesn't matter. It's like
Mhm.
he will, and any that's a sign of a really um incredible, like a real producer with a real vision and
Yeah.
talent is just like that the gear doesn't matter. But yeah, so I think I just found this app, and it took me a kind of while to figure out my working process with it, but it's just so like there's such an immediacy to it, that I can just pick up my phone, just pick up and play. And so, that's why I started posting on Twitter like little sample collages, little, just like I don't know, guitar and bass and drums, just like little. A lot of it was I was thinking about like very like shreddy, like the Shags kind of like
Yeah.
shambolic, like
Uh-huh.
which again, it's like Ableton is like okay, everything's on the beat, everything's stuck to the beat. I
That
want to move outside that. So yeah.
one thing at least I wanted to say, because while I do not use Ableton, one of the most exciting things I ended up going to at Big Ears this year was I saw all of Claire Rose's performance stuff, including the Ableton workshop
Oh,
that she
sick.
and she
Oh,
talks
interesting.
about getting off the grid.
Yeah.
She does not use that grid. In again, I don't know if they got filmed and uploaded because I was not taking notes. It was very humbling to see exactly how she's been making her sound live now. Totally connected a lot of stuff over the past couple years, but like she's got her instrumentals or stuff that she can open up in Ableton and start kind of from a live file. But when she brings in noise or airdrop stuff, yeah, most of that's not on the grid at all.
That's so
So
crazy.
That's interesting. Yeah. No, I would love to watch that if it did get recorded, but like, um, I mean, yeah, talk about like being off the grid. Like her music is just so, that anything goes with structure. And I love that. I love hearing artists who are like really going out on a limb, you know, in that sense where it's like there's no safety net, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I do, yeah, like I did say, you know, Ableton is very tied to the grid, but if you're creative, there are a lot of ways to get off of that, and make loops that are like, you know, indeterminate length. They're not lined up to the grid. Um, and so, yeah, I would love to see her live to kind of see more of the stuff she's done. I've heard people report about that, like, you know, airdrop files and just getting weird loops going, like, you know, almost out of thin air. Like, yeah, that's really impressive, the kind of stuff that she does. So.
At first, I didn't believe it, and I thought, like, no, she just walks out just to do a smoke breaker, just like because she has timed that, and I didn't realize. No, she literally was getting right on spot a field recording of the trash can or of something going on in the space that she's in, and then with the I don't know, kind of with the software that she's got on Ableton and the plugins, you can make noise out of that.
That's crazy. I
And
didn't realize she did that.
Yeah. So I'm again to see that system in real time developed like that, so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And like, you know, I have been, that's the other half of the koala equation is like,
Hmm.
you know, in if I'm working on, you know, studio tracks or whatever at home, you know, a lot of that stuff is honestly like I'll just play, say, you know, one or two layers of samples live. Um, I've been getting more layered recently, so maybe, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 layers just played live off of, you know, Koala Sampler. Um, and I'll just like say record that into Ableton and have it on a track, and then I can just keep overdubbing more layers onto it, you know. Um, and so as a solo musician, obviously using like a DAW like that is, you know, just you can open up so many more possibilities that way.
Yeah.
But then playing live, it's like, okay, you know, what am I gonna do if like, you know, I have so many layers and stuff. And so that's been a challenge, but I've been building up an arsenal of like devices. I've got like two, yeah, I've got 2 iPads. I've got one. I bought like an iPhone off eBay without a SIM card.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, just for Koala.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so, you know, now and then with my own like my personal iPhone, that's my real phone, I have like 4 copies of Koala I can run at once.
Oh,
And
that's sick.
yeah, so but I've been figuring out ways to make it like in the live setting. Like I want it, I just, you know, for me a live show is like I want it to be like, yeah, like unpredictable like that. The way that like, you know, someone like Claire Rosé might just grab whatever samples on the spot, totally unique, totally new, and then, you know, create something out of that. But like, you know, I'll prepare some samples and sequences ahead of time, but, you know, I'll totally mess with the tempo constantly, you know, like when it's a touch screen, you can just reach down and grab the tempo knob and just kind of fling it around. Um, and that's what I did for a lot of Reflex Engine. You know, a lot of that stuff is just very like skittering beats, speeding up and slowing down, you know. Again, definitely like Autechre, you know, they do crazy stuff with tempo.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. And so I'm starting to get to a place with Koala Sampling playing live where it's like, okay, you know, now I can like just make some real chaos. That's what I like to hear. You know, it's like I want to be surprised by the music I'm playing, you know. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Was Reflex Reflex was all done on Koala at the time, or was it on anything else?
Reflex Engine is 100% Koala sampler.
Let's go.
So sick.
Yeah.
That should have been a sticker on it.
It's in the liner notes, right?
Yeah.
But because what I find interesting about the layering of it, there was a great little interview, or not an interview, but a review of the album from Alex Tripp over at Endorol, who did that on the Bandcamp page. And
yeah,
something that I like that she doesn't quite say it in there, but she gets at of kind of the jolt to jump between the different fusions of genre. But that, to me, it consistently, with the way that the samples come across, really progressing just ever on towards a vanishing point. It's a really interesting sense of direction that you don't always get. It doesn't quite skirt always to different sides. You go, the centrality of that, I think, is really interesting and unique to the release, as well as the fact Thompson and I were saying just before, there's Midwest emo on this. There's some really, really fun. You have that free jazz, the noise, but then also the Midwest emo.
Yeah, it's sick.
So what, again, at least, yeah, what were you wanted to pull at the time? What brings you into that realm of big Chicago sounds or big Midwest sounds?
Yeah. No, thanks. I mean, I love that kind of idea of like the vanishing point. You know, I'm thinking now about R+7, of course, and that movement in the whatever the ravishment of Frank Enstein, the original, you know, animated film, and how it's like it just keeps going farther and farther back into those rooms, you know. So that's definitely a you know, a reference point in my mind. But yeah, I think, you know, a lot of it, I mean, as far as the different genres and sounds, you know, there's just so many. I mean, but it definitely comes originally from just a place of just there's so many sounds and different styles that I'm interested in, you know, just by default as a starting point, you know, as a listener, you know, which I'm sure y'all understand, you know, there's all different kinds of things you can get into, and I go through different phases, you know, where I'm really into guitar music, I'm really into IDM, I'm really into disco, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like, I think, exciting because there's some novelty to like switching different sound palettes. And you know, then you get the kind of twinkliness of like a Midwest emo guitar, but then also like the, you know, extreme bass, like skronk of like dubstep, like, you know, all those things that are really compelling to me. And so I think that with Reflex Engine, I just like that it's like, you know, this app, you just drag and drop sounds, you know, like whatever sounds I can make, I can just drop right in there. I can make, you know, I've got a lot of samples from Splice, you know, just royalty free stuff. And they have so many, I mean, like, just like immaculately sound designed things, you know, like that I use so many samples from Virtual Riot, the dubstep producer. And
That's
so
sick.
I have to shout them out because there's like all their like basses have this like tear out, like just incredible, I don't know, harshness and physicality. You know, that's like, you know, kind of, I want to combine that with like harsh noise or,
Yeah.
you know, more dissonant things. But yeah, so I think I don't know. And like the Midwest emo guitar, for example, you know, that was something exciting where it's like, well, I can just take my electric guitar and just like I had a little like amp simulator, just like a little tiny like, you know, Vox makes these little amp simulators for like $20. Just you plug them right into the guitar, and you know, it's perfect for like practicing at home. But I would just run that into Koala Sampler, and you know, I would do like strum like just one note at a time, right? And I play every note, and then you actually sequence it in Koala, right? Where it's like it's almost like when you're doing like guitar tapping or whatever.
Yeah.
But just with the Koala sequencer. So I don't know, there was just something about how quick and easy it was to throw that kind of stuff together. And then you know, when I play back the sequence, like I said, I'll mess with the tempo knob, I'll throw it all the way around and mess with like effects, like pitching things up and down.
Yeah.
So I think that it's like, it's definitely, I mean, Koala Sampler was like a huge influence just as far as the interface and what it allowed me to do. And, you know, it is layered. because Koala has like 64 sample slots, so you can
Wow.
do
Okay.
you can do a lot of layering. But at the same time, it's like some of those songs on that album are literally pulled from iPhone screen recordings.
That's sick. Yeah.
Which I felt terrible sending it off to get mastered, and it's like, MP3 quality, like ripped from Twitter. Some of them, I don't think I had the video saved. I had to rip it from Twitter, and which in hindsight was really smart to do, because my account got banned
twice now.
So
yeah,
it's like, you got to save that stuff. You got to put it on a tape somewhere. But yeah, so I don't know. It just kind of ended up from trying to throw in all these things that I was interested in at once, and that's also why the album has 20 tracks. So.
Yeah.
But it's a tight 44 minutes or so. Which again, it makes it perfect car ride for the commute.
I love to hear that. Yeah, that's man, that's a very, one of the most satisfying feelings when you time the album to the commute, to the drive.
Right.
That does, again, I find that interesting though, about talking about it's like setting this off to master with MP3 quality on some of those samples, on some of the cuts that are really driving it, because it doesn't come across to me. But I've heard that's like,
that's also oh, go ahead, Manny.
I'm just like, I got this tape from a book arts fest, and it's all these songs from Africa. It's a bunch of African dance music, but some of them are MP3s straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just tell him like, oh, we just ripped that from YouTube, but hey, that's the only way this has been documented or saved. It's like, it's here now.
Matthew Sage, when we talked to Matthew Sage a few years back, he also told us, because he does a lot of like sound collage stuff, he told us that one of the main things that he does is just rip MP3s, you know what I mean? Just like, and then sends those off to get like sampled, I guess. I don't know. I feel like it's a valid thing to do,
It is. I mean, it's on multiple levels too, because I definitely use that technique too. Like, I'm remembering now, like a lot of the like guitar leading or like Midwest emo type tracks on Reflex Engine, I found like I was looking for a bass sound. I was just like, I just want a good like bass guitar sample, because like I don't have a bass guitar, so I had to find a sample. And it's some guy on YouTube like demoing like a fretless bass, and I was just like, oh, that's a nice tone. And I just took that one sample and just like pitched it around everywhere, and I was like, oh yeah, so even the tracks that are, some of them that are like wave quality, like they have MP3s in there too. So like it's kind of, yeah, it's like, it's not pristine, but yeah, no, I love that. It's like, just like, having those kind of multimedia, kind of layering of different sources and different fidelities. I mean, like, it's surprising how well it can work.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, that's something that Claire brought up in her Ableton thing, with the samples that she gets of field recordings, like a voice memo with a recording, like a voice memo that's in a bar with a recording of her neighborhood walk. So those spaces already then being collapsed, and that's something that I find a lot of this music can be really fun to play with. I don't know. I feel at this point, as a listener in 2024, people are more willing. If you're really into this, you're gunning for this. Or into that.
Yeah, no, I think so. Like, that's like, if we try, and that's what I definitely try and think about, what does sampling mean now in 2024 maybe, or what implications can it create? And I mean, that's a great example of like collapsing spaces. Everybody listens to music streaming anywhere on your headphones, and so the idea of music reflecting a space is almost just, that doesn't even exist anymore, because it's like, we don't listen to music in this, but we listen on headphones, right? So you can take any space, and you can take a sound and transpose it to another space, which really goes back to like the origins of musique concrète and sampling. This idea of just divorcing a sound from its original point of origin. Like, so I like the idea of, just it's like an imaginary space. It's just you can create these things, that are totally imaginary. And I think of TikTok and like the editing tools people have on TikTok, the voice filters and the just, I mean, there's like people do the wildest stuff that I feel like it's like the idea of like a sound being an object, right? Like, I mean, it's just completely normalized. And it's everywhere. And like people will, mime along to different sounds and use them in all different contexts. So I feel like it's very, like people are very receptive to this idea of like, you can just create a completely imaginary space. You can have like a voice note recording and merge it with like a professional recording. And it's just normal. I mean, it's like, there's so many possibilities there that I'm glad that for people now, even though it's like in some ways being in this imaginary online space makes you feel insane also. I mean, it's exciting, the possibilities that are inherent in it. So I totally get what you mean.
Oh yeah. At least I guess because as we kind of come, well, just near the end as we get back on track for music time, what music at least has been, I don't know, this year like really exciting you? That can be old dives that you've been doing, bloghouse tunes that you've found, upcoming leaks of brat that you've got, at whatever. What's been exciting you in that capacity?
Oh man, I mean,
Oh, and also we got to shout out your bootleg shirt that you're wearing right now.
oh hell yeah.
Yeah, you got the boot on.
Yeah, that's sick.
Grab one of those. Oh.
Thinking Fellas Union, so sick.
Yeah.
Shout out Riley. Thank you for doing
Shout
those.
out Riley. He's a real one. He's one of the best Twitter accounts as well.
All time. He makes so many people mad, as I found out Adam Friedland thing, at just how many people like despise his banter, despise every, and I'm like, oh sick, let's go. Which everything he does is perfect.
He just posts cool CDs and just talk shit. It's great.
the Bruce Springsteen videos he did killed me where he's playing the fans who are really angry at how Nebraska sounds.
My favorite post of his, just because I'm not remembering it, is when he's talking about, you remember there's that movie Yesterday about a guy who wakes up and the Beatles don't exist. It's like bizarre world, right? And then he like invents the Beatles or whatever. But yeah, and he was like, Riley was like, I'm going to star in the version of it where Animal Collective didn't exist, and I'm the first guy to run a standing floor tom through a delay pedal, and they lock me up in a psych ward.
For me, because he erased it, and I'm always gonna be sad it's gone. There's two of them. It's the modern British post-punk, which is him just saying, we gotta sell ourselves the wage gap. The wage gap is spooked up. And someone replied to him, he's like, way to just dunk on the most exciting music coming out right now. And he's like, I have a guitar too.
That is so funny.
Like, I've got a guitar and pedal, don't worry. And then he posted this on Instagram as well, and I think I have it saved somewhere, where he goes up. It was right after the TikTok shoegaze article that Eli had written for Stereo Gum.
Oh yeah.
And he walks up to his pallet at his burger job and he's like, shoegaze, duster, shoegaze. Talking to the youths.
God, yeah, he's just truly a treasure.
I wait for those clips.
Yeah. But anyway, I was
music for this year. There were a few things I had to, or other albums that we have to shout out, but yeah, stuff this year that you've really enjoyed.
Yeah, I feel like I've been slacking a little bit on music discovery, or I don't know, I just haven't been. in that mode as much recently. I have been digging World of Hassle, the Alan Palomo album.
Oh wow!
Oh, nice.
From I think it came out last year. Which I'm not like huge into Neon Indian. Like I don't even know if I've heard all of his releases technically, but one of my buddies who makes music, my buddy Marek, he makes music. His project is called Aziza, and he makes a lot of like R&B, old school soul inflected type of pop music, with like also like sample collages and stuff. So he's a fan of Alan's stuff, and
Nice.
he told me to check out World of Hassle. And I've also, since like last year, I had this huge disco phase. It was like 3 months I only listened to disco, and this album is kind of in this like post disco, like 80s boogie electro kind of mode, with some like Italo vibes too, like all kinds of stuff. I mean, he mixes a lot of styles in general in Neon Indian, but that album is really hitting right now. I love the style and the imagery of it. All the lyrics are super great. So that's heavy rotation. I really like the new Slug Beat by Suge on a Lizard label.
Oh, nice.
I heard about this a bit.
Yeah. If you haven't checked it out yet, I love, because I think that's got some samples and type stuff on it, but it's definitely like very psychedelic, but like beat driven, like trancey kind of stuff. But I don't know, just really, really great vibe on that one. It's hard to pin down exactly, but I got the CD of that one.
Tight.
And then I mean, the other thing, I guess two other things I'll shout out is just the new Charlie singles. Super into those. I'm like, I've drank the Kool-Aid with Charlie. I just, like, there were a lot of my friends were hating on Crash. I loved it. Like I pretty much every song on Crash, there was maybe one or two I was like, but I love Crash. But the new ones, I'm like, all three singles are just, I can't get enough of them. They're like irresistible. So I'm trying not to overplay them because the album's still 2 months away, and it's a challenge. But I think she's really on one. Just like she's doing this like clubby, more minimal, definitely some Bloghouse vibes. But I mean, speaking of audio fidelity, I'm gonna, like, Von Dutch, that first single, I've been telling myself I'm gonna put it into like 128 kilobytes per second MP3 because it doesn't hit hard enough. Like, it's something about it that I'm like, it's a little bit just too nice, it needs to be like dirtied up a bit, I think. But I love it. I mean,
that also, I don't know, just you saying that speaks to something right now as well. I've been feeling with some recent pop albums that do not, production wise, they don't have a punch that it seems like it's being teased for. And you should come and see my live concert so you can get the full experience. And the biggest one I felt that with was the Caroline Polachek. I still really like. I think Desires, but production. There are some times, and I talk with some guys that they care about their dance music, and they're approaching that album from being dance music listeners more than like indie heads or pop heads, and they were like, "This doesn't go as hard as it needs to." That they were very frustrated by that, even though like the songs are fine, but this is not. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are right.
No, I definitely feel that, and that's something I think that Charlie is like something that she just gets a lot better than a lot of like pop girls.
This sounds great. This sounds great on a boombox. This actually that gets it right.
Yeah, and I mean, she just. I mean, she's like a raver. That's how I feel about her. She's really a raver. Like, at the end of the day, and so that really comes across. And I think this new one is supposed to be just like pure club. I mean, the club
dope.
classics single, like, but I think. Are y'all trying to finish by a certain time? I know we just hit.
No, you're good.
We're kicking. We're slowly
Okay.
closing our way
We're
there.
just, it's all vibes, no breaks.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I wasn't, making anybody miss an appointment. But the last thing I'll just say, as far as what I've been into, what I've been obsessing, I keep posting on Twitter that I've been watching a bunch of films with this actress Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh,
Um,
my mom's a
but
Barbara. Yeah.
wait, what'd you say? Sorry.
I think my mom is a Barbara Stanwyck head as well. She's the big one on the films in the family. She reads the books now.
Oh hell yeah, I love
Mhm.
that. That's it. It's kind of fun getting into like film stuff because it is
Oh, it
very like,
absolutely is. The biggest thing I recommend, or the one thing I love to do that I don't enough, silent film with a noise tape or with an Astral Spirits free jazz tape. So the set you your own.
Oh, that's sick. I've never thought to do that.
You-
That's dope.
You just see where the synapses fire, just if the idea matches up, and it's a blast, total blast.
I don't do that enough, and I
yeah.
do love that. Like I definitely like a year or two back, I remember I had a very memorable watch where I just took an edible and I watched what's it called, Dog Star Man by Stan Brakhage.
Okay.
Yeah, which is very, kind of, I don't know, abstract, whatever you want to call it, just like very minimal, like collages, weird stuff,
Yeah.
not like a narrative film at all. But I watched that and I listened to John Oswald's Gray Folded.
Oh.
And yeah, and that totally, it had some real moments of like serendipity, things lining up. But yeah, no, I'm gonna do that more. I guess I was just gonna say, in general, that's the other thing that I've kind of, the last couple of years I've been getting into film, and it's been very connected with music for me.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and like with my music, and it's like, I just really think because of just, structure wise, like, and pacing, these are the two media where you have a start and an end, and it's just a continuous, constantly moving, constantly advancing from start to end, not like reading a book or, poetry or whatever. Like, and so it's just all about this pacing and this kind of progression of things, this accumulation of different images and ideas. And it really was like what inspired me, because it used to be, up until maybe like 3 years ago, I was never really like into movies. Like, I like, the Big Lebowski, like I said.
Yeah.
I like random movies.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that on 420 with my friends again. We got our tickets for Big Lebowski.
Oh hell yeah, that's sick.
Shit.
So yeah, that'll be like my fourth or fifth time. So absolutely.
That's dope.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times. And like it was when I was getting deep into Jim O'Rourke's Steam Room series,
Oh, sick.
actually, that from there, because that stuff is very, it's very like cinematic score style, just every album is just one long track, and just immaculately paced and so deliberate in its pacing. Lots of negative space, lots of just extreme dynamics, quiet to loud. And so I felt like, as I was listening to all those Steam Rooms, I probably listened to all 50 of them, and it's almost less about the music and more about the pacing.
Yeah.
Not to say that the music is bad. It's incredible. It's Jim O'Rourke. He's like just the master of arrangement and, mixing and everything. But like from there, I was like, I don't know. And a lot of my friends, were more into film and kind of just studying it, kind of, discovering different scenes and traditions and stuff, much like, you would dig into, old music scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of got a head start from my friends just showing me stuff and showing me like Kiyoshi Kurosawa, this Japanese filmmaker. He's a real really just a master of the structure and like the form of film and the way
Yeah.
he edits his movies and like the cutting. So yeah, that's just been a consistent kind of inspiration. Like with Reflex Engine, it's like as far as how things are moving, how they're developing. Again, it's almost less about like what specific sounds I'm using. It's just like where are they moving, how are they developing, and then what's the speed of like cutting from one scene to the next, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's just something I think about a lot and something that definitely influences and informs my musical approach. So
Yeah. What's one of the most recent films you've seen recently?
let's see. A good one that I watched recently. It's this 1930s movie called Stella Dallas.
Oh, nice.
Um, and I think it was pretty famous at the time. It's from 1937, and it's also one of those movies that it was based on like a novel from the 1920s, and it was a big hit. They adapted it multiple times,
Yeah.
like there was a silent film too, but yeah, this one from 1937, and it's like it's basically this kind of class drama about like a poor woman marries a rich man, and then she has a daughter, and she's very like she wants her daughter to have a better life than she had,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And these like I've been watching mostly super super old movies because that was the era of this actress Barbara Stanwyck, who I'm just like obsessed with her because she's just very like expressive, her emotions and her performance is very like naturalistic, and that movie is like the plot is just like so extremely sentimental, which can be, it can be hit or miss, that kind of thing. Another major recent one for me was John Ford's How Green Was My Valley,
sick,
which is a total tearjerker and just a really just stunning the way that film looks, just the way it's photographed, and both these are black and white, so they have that look to them. But yeah, with the Stella Dallas, it's like this story about like the class differences. It actually feels like really dated, like almost like Depression era kind of like and it could almost just seem like too sentimental, I feel like, but it's something about the performance, and it's amazing because when I'm watching like Barbara Stanwyck giving this emotional performance, I'm just like locked in on how the emotions will like flow up and down, and it is very musical. It's very dynamic, and so that's again just like that kind of emotion, that kind of like I don't know, rawness is something I'm always looking for in all kinds of art, So yeah, Stella Dallas, 1937, big recommendation. Just get your tissues ready before you watch.
Oh,
sick.
Well, I'll do that. I'll get in on that. I enjoy a good black and white film.
I haven't seen a black and white film in a very long time, so I may have to.
What are you doing?
I'm messing up, dude. The oldest movie I just watched recently was Chinatown. Have you guys seen that one?
Of course.
Still haven't seen it, but that's a classic. I need to see that.
Dude, it was so good. They played it at our theater. Yeah.
Oh, you got to see it in the theater?
Yeah, it was sick actually. It was really good.
Thomas. Oh, that's delicious.
Dude, it was an awesome movie. I don't really know too much about like film and whatnot, but my friends were like, let's go see this like classic movie. And dude, it was so good.
Oh, that's sick. I just even just looking at like screenshots of it, like the photography looks amazing. Actually, that reminds me, one more I'll share that I was a couple weeks ago. I went up to Chicago just to see Hannah Diamond. She played.
Oh, sick.
Which was amazing. That was her Chicago debut, so that was cool.
Oh wow, she never really?
She never played. She played in New York, she played in LA, but she never played in the Midwest before. Mm-hmm. So
wow.
Yeah, which was crazy, but it was sick. A very enthusiastic crowd. And then like the day of the show earlier that afternoon, the Music Box Theater up in Chicago, they always have like amazing repertory screenings of like old stuff, and they were playing Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven.
Oh,
Have y'all seen that?
No.
I haven't seen Days of Heaven unless I've seen his first one, and that's great.
Badlands.
Yes, Badlands, and I've seen that on the big
Yeah.
screen when I was in film school. So, yes,
Nice. Yeah, no, that's Badlands is amazing, and Days of Heaven is real similar because it's like that kind of, idyllic prairie
Yeah.
country, field of reeds with wind blowing through it, like just amazing. And it was a 35 millimeter screening, and
Tight.
wow.
yeah, so that was really lucky. I just happened to be in Chicago. They were showing it in Chicago, and I was able to catch it. And yeah, and it was a packed showing too. So yeah, man, it's so nice when that happens, when you get the chance to see something like that on the big screen, just like
Yeah.
larger than life. So cool.
Awesome. All right, Maddie. Well, I think that brings us to the end here, right?
I guess only other thing I would want to talk about real quickly, just to close up with the little Animal Collective thing.
Let's do it.
Which of the albums are we taking here that have come out recent memory? Which one? Time Skiffs or Isn't It Now?
I'm going to go Time Skiffs.
Okay.
And I'm also going to tie in the EP they did, the Bridge to Quiet EP.
Okay, we'll accept that.
Yeah.
I think it's a
just
great way to get around this.
Yeah, that's that one. I really like that one actually. And I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to describe exactly, but yeah, I like the direction they went in on that recent stuff. It's very like Grateful Dead feels like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it took me a second with Time Skiffs to appreciate what it was doing at first. I'm ultimately going with Isn't It Now? And I think part of why is they put, this is big, those were the songs that they could not do remote.
Yeah.
They needed Panda Bear there on the drum kit back, but where a bunch of fans, I think, went into the wrong pratfall. They took the wrong lesson of, oh, they're doing the first album since Feels Like a typical band. Wrong, guys. Panda Bear been listening to his dub, and for the first time, while I could totally, I'll give the hat tip to the jam stuff. It's the rock steady on this. I think Panda.
No, I think you're right.
I think Panda Bear's drumming is amongst the most inspired stuff that he's done. And going back to Spirit They've Gone, where he was already giving top-notch, perfect percussion. But the drumming to me is so much fun on the album. It's a real delight for would these guys ever do kind of their version of a reggae? And you finally get that. They arrive at that point. But Time Skiffs, the remote, the disconnection of how those cuts were made. And then when because they did so many interviews where they gave a shout out to Broadcast and Chillwave. I also saw bits of that being a very long awaited commentary on something they didn't want to be lumped into, and just finally like arriving at.
No, I think that's honestly like right on the money. Like, and because that is the thing is I feel like I really vibe with Time Skiffs and Bridge to Quiet. I think they also recorded that remote, and it's really despite that, because that's what I love the most about them, is that energy they have when they're playing together in a room. And you mentioned that it took you a minute to kind of get into what they were doing on Time Skiffs. I have to admit, Isn't It Now, even at this point, even now, I don't know if I've like 100% clicked with it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I did see them on that tour like twice, and I saw them play like Defeat live, the big giant suite.
Yeah.
And I love that song, and I love the pacing of the album, how patient it is, and it does have a rock steady, like, dub feeling in the rhythms and the kind of progression of it. And something about it, I was like, I couldn't get into that groove just quite at least when it came out. And then I did listen to it a lot, but then now I've taken a break from it. And actually, I think, now that you brought it up, I'm inspired to get back into it because I think, I mean, like, and that's the thing about all their music and, a lot of different music is like, just, you got to come to it in the right mindset. You got to be in the right context, and sometimes it just doesn't vibe, but like it always eventually I find the right, time and place for things to settle in for me to really click with it. So yeah.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
That's how it goes, though. That's how it feels.
It is. I mean, and just, like I said, it took me, when I first heard Animal Collective, I was not feeling it, man. I was like, I'm too cool for this, like I'm not
cool
ready to be screaming and all this, but yeah, no, it's even now I think about, like Magicians from Baltimore on that album. Yeah, like the way that they do that, the intro being part where it kind of like stops and starts, it's just magical. Like there's something like, you can feel it in the air when that song plays, and I still hear it now in my head. So I definitely think I need to revisit it. So
there we go.
Sick.
Well,
I guess that kind of,
yeah.
Do you have anything coming up that you're working on, or that we can?
Yeah, I guess this is where I can plug myself.
Yeah, plug in anything you got. Where can people keep up with all things Jetski? Like, where can people keep up with all things the DJ work that you do?
Yeah, I'm back on Twitter. I made a new account after getting banned twice. So the current active account is at Jetskitos Way 2.
Tight.
Number 2. And then I'm on Instagram, Jetski 0. That one's easier.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to follow along, and then on SoundCloud, yeah, Jetski or DJ Victor Borga.
Mm-hmm.
The Jetski, it's the one, my profile picture is just like a Shutterstock, like guy on a jet ski. So you'll see it. It's really generic, but you'll see it.
It's the best. It's always cracked me up whenever I see the jet ski mentioned. I'm like, that's not him, but that's just good.
Yeah, I've just embraced that. It's like, the kind of almost like the platonic ideal of the jet ski is this symbol of like, freedom out on the ocean. I don't know. But yeah, no, you can feel free to follow me. And then I'm working on the next album, Jetski album number 2. It's still in progress, but I think it's rounding a corner. It's starting to come together. I tend to work pretty slow. Not for any reason. I don't know. I just kind of give myself the space to, for things to come together the way that I want them to. But yeah, I think if you're a fan of Reflex Engine, I think you'll like the next album. And I'm basically trying to do kind of the same approach. Really, it's all Koala Sampler again, but I'm just trying to make it more layered, more in depth, even maybe more genre switching, perhaps. We'll see. I mean, the main thing,
some John Ford interviews in there, you think?
Maybe. That's the thing I haven't broached yet, is like getting some like dialogue and film samples in there, which I love when artists can do that in a like a very evocative kind of way.
Yeah.
I have saved a couple of Barbara Stanwyck clips that I'm like,
oh, brilliant.
I'm gonna find a way to work them in, especially because I love her voice. Like she smoked a lot. She had like a really deep voice, and she's very, very nice, pleasing to listen to. So keep an ear out. You may find some Easter eggs in the next album whenever it happens. Hopefully sometime this year, but just stay posted. It's TBD right now. So
hey,
awesome.
That's
no pun intended. All All right. Well, we do have one more question left for you, Maddie. Do you want to take it?
I think I got this one tonight, Thomas.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Ian, you pick up a new koala sampler. Koalas just, they find out about the album, they're really pleased, and they offer you a new koala sampler, which you're like thinking, hey, it's going to be a new iPhone, except when you get the box, the koala sampler is actually just a rat that has it's a sampler. And this rat, he's going to live with you. He's going to be a great sampler, but that first time you see him, you open the box, he's really scared, and he's going to jump in your mouth, head first or butt first, and why?
I am, wow, I mean, of course, I've considered this countless times before.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
as one does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's always great when the brands look out for us, the little guy.
Right. That's what I'm waiting for them to hit me up. But I guess I'm going to go mouth first,
I respect that decision. Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking because I feel like, with animals, well, this may be more like dogs. I always hear people talk about dogs, because people are like, oh, don't let your dog lick your face, like you're not supposed to or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, I'm going to let the dog lick my face. Like,
yeah,
it's not, it's not that serious. But then people say like, well, dogs, they have all this like bacteria in their mouth that it's like it's good, like it kills like diseases and stuff, right? So that's why they can like eat anything and they're fine. So I'm like, maybe rats are like
similar.
Maybe they've got some kind of anti, some immune protection or something. I hope so, but I'm not gonna judge, a rat. Like I'm trying to be open-minded and just like don't think of them as dirty. Like I think, the ass, it's like I don't want to get any like poop and that kind of thing. So that I'll just go with the mouth. Yeah.
I respect that, dude. That's a good answer, Ian.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah,
and
really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Really
it's
nice
a white lab rat, so it's gonna be a
no,
clean
I yeah, that's if he's been vetted, like I can't hate. So, but no, I love that question. Thank you. That's a great note to end on.
You really get to. It's like the best question to really just get to know someone.
I mean, it tells you a lot. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that kind of does it for this episode of TBD. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and kcsb.org. To the rest of the world, this has been Ian from Jetski. Thanks so much, Ian.
Thanks to you guys.